Zlateh the God is the very next chapter. And it is an amazing and at the same time a touching story of Isaac Bashevis Singer. Through this story, the author reveals the mutual relationship of warmth and togetherness between man and animal. Reuven, a farrier, he has no other way except selling his goat Zlateh to celebrate the festival Hanukkah. So he approached a butcher, and butcher was ready to buy the Zlateh. So he makes his son Aaron to take the goat to the butcher. Aaron is taking the Zlateh to the butcher. His wife and Aaron's mother and sisters, our Reuven's wife and children, they were all against selling this Zlateh. But they know very well, as they need money, they had no other way. On the way, a blizzard, a snowstorm appeared. So our Aaron and Zlateh get into a haystack and save themselves. They had to stay there for 3 days. During these 3 days, our Aaron has nothing to eat and to drink, so he drinks the milk of Zlateh. Zlateh is having enough food in it because it is a haystack. So that those 3 days develop some sort of interdependence in between them. So on the 4th day, he doesn't want to go to the butcher. He straightly go to the house, and from that day, that Zlateh becomes a member of a family. But this story is a touching one, talking about the togetherness, interdependence of man and animal. Gender is the third module. In this third module, we have Adrian Rich. Her claiming in education is the chapter what we have. Adrian Rich is a renowned poet, essayist, and political activist. She herself defined herself as a woman, Fabian, and feminist. It is actually a convocation speech delivered in the Women's College of Douglas, New Jersey, USA, in September 1977. She explains being educated is a right, so women should claim their right. Moreover, the women's experience and thought should be included in the curriculum. That is another need. Then women should take responsibility towards themselves. They should take responsibility towards themselves. They should never allow others do their thinking, talking, and naming for them. They should talk for themselves. They should think for themselves, and they should name for themselves. They should never allow others to think, talk, and name for them. Then women should love only those who should be able to respect them apart from loving them. Whom women love, they should be in a place to respect them too. Apart from love, those who can respect them, such people are worthy to be loved by women. Women should take that decision. Yes. Then the teachers. Teachers should believe that women's mind and experience are intrinsically valuable. Basically, they have the strong mind and totally different experiences, how to face them, how to tackle them. So, teachers should believe that women's mind and experiences intrinsically valuable. Thus, their speech has become one of the best critique of the present system of education from the women's perspective. So these are the points that should be there in your mind when you write an answer to claiming an education. How students should behave, should have in their mind, especially women students, how the teachers who teach women students, in what way they have to handle women students. Then another chapter is the story of Anova. It is a story with a startling anticlimax of Kate Chopin. She reveals what it means to be free and happy from a feminist perspective. Actually, great care was taken in breaking the news of death of her dead husband to Mrs. Mallard. As Mrs. Mallard never loved her husband, on hearing it, she says in her mind, free. Free. Body and soul free. But though she pretended well the grief to others, on her seeing her dead husband alive, the rude shock killed her at the end. Our next chapter is Mukabes. Mukabe. What it's like to be transgender. It is a heart-rending poem that reveals the hard realities in the life of transgender people. Though the poet was the mystery of an anatomy, she decided to be a boy. So he played hide and seek and did what other boys did. But the transphobia nature of the people continued with its troubling her with the issues of gender identity. She had to face the issues related to gender identity. That was why many transgender people like Mia Hall and Leela Alcon either killed by others or committed suicide. But Mukabe is optimistic, and that was why she became he. He concluded his poem. Maybe God finally listened to my prayer. So in that way, this poem talks about the hard realities in the life of transgender people. How our Lee Mukabe faced the people who had transphobia and how he survived. Yes. These are the things there in this poem. Transgender, how they survive. That is the points. Refugee Blue. It is a poem by W.H. Auden. It is one of the most important poems that talks about the imprisonment and the brutal killing of the Jewish people in Europe by Hitler. It is a poem in 12 stanzas. Each stanza consists 3 lines. In this poem, the speaker is talking to her lover. She talks about the condition of the refugees. The repetition used at the last line of each stanza is touching and powerful. As the birds in the forest and fishes in the water are free, the poet is jealous of them. When the council found him without passport, he says, if you are without passport, if you have no passport, you are officially dead. If you have no passport, you are officially dead. Then the narrator is shocked on his hearing from others on seeing the refugees. If we let them in, they will steal our daily bread. Thus the poem talks about migration, which is still continuing throughout the world as one of the burning human rights issues of the world. So this poem is talking about the imprisonment and brutal killing of Jewish people in Europe by Hitler. Amnesty is a moving story of Nadine Gordimer. Nadine Gordimer won Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1991. The narrator of the story is the fiancé of the nameless protagonist of South African freedom struggle. He took part. Nameless protagonist. Amnesty, it means the forgiveness given to those who committed political crimes. The unionist came back after 6 years imprisonment. Though his wife and parents had tried to meet him in the prison earlier, it was their illiteracy and ignorance that didn't allow them to meet him. Even after his arrival, the unionist continues with his movement for bringing good future to the people of South Africa. That was why when the narrator says that their second child coming, then their second child is going to come to this world, that happy news, when it was revealed, he answered, he will born and live in the new world. That was the sentence he delivered. My second child will born and live in the new world. Thus, in this story, all are waiting for their freedom and rights. So it is a touching story of Nadine Gordimer. Nadine Gordimer spent her lifetime in South Africa. The Outcast. The Outcast is a pathetic story of Sharan Kumar Limbale that shows a true and realistic picture of the darker side of Indian society about a half a century ago. It is about few students who belonged to untouchable family, the high caste village boys and low caste village boys. They are in a picnic. The teachers took them in a picnic, and when the noontime came, all settled to eat their food. The teacher separated them. The high caste village boys and girls under one tree, with them the teachers. Then in another tree, the low caste village boys and girls. The leftovers of the high caste boys and girls, leftover food, the remaining food, the wasted food, were given to the low caste village, low caste students. And actually it was nectar like, a heavenly food like, not only to the boys and the girls, but to their mothers too. The narrator's mother, she is worrying a lot, why you didn't that food to me? If you had brought, I would have tasted it. In this way, this story is bringing in front of us the true and realistic picture, the dark side of Indian society a century or half a century ago. The next day, the teacher asked the boys to write about the picnic. Our poor narrator is simply sitting there blinking. He doesn't know how to begin. He doesn't know what to write. But the other story ends. In this way, it gives in front of us a picture of the suffering of the low class students, even in their classroom, even in their school. Then next chapter is chemical happiness and the meaning of life. Chemical happiness and the meaning of life. It is actually a discourse of Yuval Noah Harari on the meaning of life. Harari is talking about the meaning of life. Harari is the author of the international bestseller, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. He says that happiness is the result of chemical process taking place in the human brain. Happiness is the chemical process taking place in the human brain. According to him, serotonin, a chemical produced in the nerve cells, serotonin, a chemical produced in the nervous cells. Dopamine, an organic chemical that controls the brain's pleasure center. Then oxytocin, the love hormone. These are having key roles to make a person happy. Money, social status, beautiful house won't bring real happiness. Only these three, serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, they have the power to bring happiness. To have real happiness, we are in need of what? Meaningful life we should have. We are in need of having a meaningful life. To get happiness, to be happy, meaningful life is needed. How we consider our life as meaningful. To this, we are in need of delusions, personal delusions, collective delusions. Personal delusions, our concept. Collective delusions, others' concept. So, our happiness is brought through the concept, through the desires, through the fulfillment, from personal point of view and the collective point of view. Then we want to make a compromise with this. If we want to consider both or synchronize both, we should be obliged to consider one self-delusion. We want to have a compromise with personal delusion and collective delusion. So, just to synchronize it, we are in need of self-delusion. So, it is actually self-delusion that brings happiness to us. It is actually self-delusion that makes our body have serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin, through which we get happiness. In this way, he concludes his meaning of life, chemical happiness and meaning of life, with this point. Self-delusion is bringing happiness to us. Here, the last chapter ends. But in this way, Zeitgeist, we should be thorough with all the points you should remember. Then apart from the points what I have given, you have to collect other details in each and every lesson, and you should write the exam in a better way, without mistakes, spelling mistakes and grammatical mistakes. It is very easy to get marks, 80 marks, 1 or 2 sentences you have to answer, paragraph question, then short essay. Okay. Best of luck.